It's VDV log time, bro. My review of M. Night Shyamala Ding Dongs, The Visit. Just finished watching it. Finally, Jesus Christ, I've had it on rent for nearly a week. It's actually due back tomorrow. And finally watched it. This movie was good. It was really good. Not like, oh man, it's so cheesy and so terribly acted. It's hilarious. No, this is actually legitimately good. It's got really good acting. It's got really good directing. It's got great mood and ambiance, and it's got really good writing. And it has a twist. Well, of course, it has a fucking twist, and it's a good twist too. And I'm glad that it wasn't fully spoiled for me. Because I figured that what the twist was going to be... Okay, so the story, just in case you're not aware, in case you haven't seen billions of the other reviews that are out there, and why should my review matter? But hey, maybe it's a different opinion. You may never know. Is that these two kids, Becca and Tyler, who are young teenage kids, and they live with their mother, who is separated from her husband. They're going off to go and visit their grandparents, who their mother has not seen in like 15 years, ever since she left. She met an older man when she was young, and she wanted to run off with him. Parents really didn't agree. They had a terrible fight, and a terrible split. She left, never came back. Hasn't spoken to them since. Well, some years after having their two kids, the husband leaves, and she's now, just left with her kids. And so the grandparents suddenly reach out asking to meet their grandchildren. And so they're going to go off for a week to meet them and get to know them. At the same time, the daughter, Becca, who's, wanting, to be a little movie maker of her own, she's making a little documentary about the whole thing, wanting to learn a lot more about her mom. But at the same time, at the end of the film, it's, more poignant as to why she's making this documentary. Her mother blames herself for everything that's happened. She blames herself for the terrible split that she had with her parents. She blames herself for her husband leaving her, and just everything not going right for her. She blames herself. And the daughter is hoping to give her some kind of forgiveness by doing this and capturing it with the grandparents. Well, when they first get there, the grandparents seem, they seem like pretty typical grandparents. They seem normal, cozy, warm, nice. And then things start getting a little weird. Grandmother has some night temperaments, where at first it's explained that she has, I forget, it's called sundowner syndrome, and I actually work at a retirement home, and actually had to be, explained exactly what sundowner syndrome is and how it works, though I don't actually work with the elderly, thankfully. And it's just explained, that, it's a mild form of dementia, it happens, where she will act differently at night or at certain different times of the day. And even Grandpa acts a little strange as well. And this goes on for a little while, and, and I mean, I want to point out a few other things. There are, some people mention how when they're doing, the whole documentary thing, like when they're talking into the camera about whatever it is that's going on, I didn't feel that was fake. I actually felt that was genuine. Because that's, kind of how you get sometimes on camera. And everything else, like a lot of the other characters who were around, like there's a scene at the very beginning, like when they hop on the train to go and, to actually go out to where the grandparents live, where, they're, you're slowly being introduced to the characters and kind of setting the mood a little bit. There's a ticket man on the train who Becca bumps into, just asking for her ticket, and notices that she's carrying a camera and that she's a documentary maker, and mentions how he used to act, and starts to do a monologue for her that actually happens like one other time with another character who comes out to the house to visit. And and it's little moments like that. And then, like a few minutes later, we're introduced to the brother who's really into freestyle rap. And the ticket man is sitting next to him providing beatbox while he raps. I just thought it was a very cute and very genuine, and felt like a kind of an actual genuine sweet moment. And there's a lot of stuff like that like all throughout this. And then things start getting a little bit weirder. At one point, they're really freaked out by what they're seeing with their grandparents. So much so that the little brother Tyler, he wants to plant a camera in the living room so they can see everything that's going on at night. But Becca is heavily against this, and and doesn't believe in it, and thinks like, no, that's stupid and it's wrong. Well, finally, it gets to a point where things are getting really weird, and there's been a lot of other stuff that's been going on. She finally agrees to it, and they catch her on camera at night just walking around, and she finds the camera, and she's obviously in this very deluded state, and you can see it on her face and in her eyes. And she grabs the camera. And of course it's a jump scare, because she walks off at one point, and then, you hear, the loud thumping steps as she's approaching the camera, but then she pops up. Pops up and actually growls into the camera. Like, what human being actually does that? And these are supposed to be human beings, it's not a twist that they're demons or monsters or anything like that. And she grabs the camera and she goes in the living room, or she goes into the kitchen, grabs a butcher knife, and then goes to the kids' door, which they keep locked at night for good reason now. And she sets the camera down, she starts trying to open the door, and then starts pounding on it with the knife. And then she goes back and she grabs the camera and she, puts it back where it was, drops the knife, and then goes back to the bedroom. And they decide after that we're making this the last night. We'll keep things normal, we'll try and stay away from them, but this is going to be the last night. After this, we're calling Mom and we're going to beg her to come out and pick us up. And so they get on the phone with her and they're telling her all about everything that's been going on. Grandmother, running around at night, scratching at walls while she's nude, walking around at one point with a butcher's knife. Grandpa collecting diapers in the shed, at one point catching him with a shotgun in his mouth. And the mom asks, and this is a spoiler here, so be warned. If you haven't seen the movie yet, watch the movie first before you watch the spoiler and the review. She asks where the grandparents are, and they're over Skype, and they show their mother where their grandparents are. They're over, by the back of the house. And then they set the laptop back down, and their mother just stares at them confused and says, "Who are those people?" "Sweetie, those are not your grandparents." That's the twist. The people that they've been staying with are not their grandparents. Turns out they're actually, they're psychiatric inmates, I believe, at the same hospital that their grandparents were working at. And obviously they broke out, or who knows. It's not fully explained exactly what happened, because they were counselors at, a hospital. And we are hinted about the fact, because people from the hospital volunteer center come over and ask, "Hey, where are your grandparents?" Because they were supposed to be here, on a Monday or on Saturday, but they never showed. So, just wanted to make sure that everything's okay. That's a pretty big hint to drop about the fact that, yeah, they didn't come when they, were supposed to, so. But no, yeah, they're dead and they're in the basement. And it kind of all comes to a head. Oh, man, it's, oof. And when that whole thing is revealed and it's, oof. And I mean, just in case you were wondering, the kids make it out. Becca gets locked in the room with the grandmother. And the grandfather, who, reveals his name to be Mitchell, is with Tyler, the son. And the son is just frozen in fear. And he also has a fear of germs. And so the guy takes off his diaper at one point, and you've probably heard this. He, smacks it in the kid's face and then just, rubs it all over him. And Becca finally gets out of the room. Clara, I believe is the character's name. She comes at her and she's, utterly nuts, and she starts, bashing her head against a mirror. Becca takes a piece of broken glass from the mirror and just starts stabbing her. And then uses something with a lot of weight in order to break the door handle, because it's got a pretty sturdy lock behind it. And she manages to get out of the room and ambushes and tries to ambush Mitchell, but he overpowers her, and Tyler just snaps. He tells this story earlier on that he used to be a football player when he was 8 years old, and he tells this kind of story that kind of haunts him, that makes him think this is the reason why their dad left, in that he didn't tackle one of the players who had the ball, that he just froze on the field, and because of that, their team lost. So he kind of blames himself for that, and he snaps and just starts shouting things that the coach and various other people were shouting at him when he was 8 years old on the field. He runs at the back at Mitchell and hits him hard and tackles him on the ground, and hits him again. The whole time he's shouting about, you gotta hit him. You gotta hit him hard. You gotta wrap your arms around him. You gotta lean in with your shoulder. And just goes in and just hits him again. And then while he's on the floor, he opens up the fridge and starts bashing his head in with the fridge door, and just starts screaming about, any other psycho bitches think they can mess with me? Bring it on! And just having a complete mental breakdown. He's screaming, he's crying, and so is Becca. And she grabs her little brother, and it's, utter pandemonium. And then they get out of the house, and police cars show up, and so does their mother, who grabs them, and they go back home, and everything's okay. And you see, little more snippets of the video that Becca was working on, where it's the more in-depth interview with her mother. And then she includes, because earlier on she had showed a clip of them as kids with their dad, and she said that she didn't want to include any video of him because it felt like that she was forgiving him, and she didn't want to. And in part of the interview, when their mom tells them what happened that night when she left, that her mother stepped in her way, she smacked her, and her father smacked her, and they were just shocked. Just stood there for a few minutes, and then she left. And they did try to reach out to her at a few other points later on. They tried to call her and everything, but she didn't want to talk to him, and tells her daughter that, do not hold on to anger. And I understand, why you're doing this. You want to give me forgiveness, but forgiveness was always there. I just had to have the guts to actually reach out for it. And then she includes the footage of them as kids with their dad. And then, when the credits roll, before the credits roll, you get this quick little subtitle about, my brother forced me to put this in. And it's them back at home, and it's after the events. And it's him rapping about everything that they just went through. And it was actually, kind of cute and funny, and, and Yeah, I mean, I'm really glad that I watched this. This was a really good movie. It had really great, I mean, again, it has, great characters. It's got great mood. A lot of the, shaky cam stuff is not as terrible as it usually is in those kind of movies. The jump scares aren't too bad. They do set the mood. They do get a little overly ridiculous, especially with Clara when she's, walking around the living room and then she, pops up in front of the camera. Urgh! Like that was a little ridiculous. But, I mean, that revelation when it comes about the fact that these people, who they think are their grandparents, are not. That they are just these weird people who stole these other people's lives so that they could, well, it was so that Clara, who had children, but she drowned them in the well, because she has this delusional fantasy about how, like, that aliens who live on another planet, that they like vomit water or something like that, and it puts people into a deep sleep and they just dream. Yeah, and they both kind of live under that same delusion, and that was basically what they were going to do to these kids, was that they were going to drown them, essentially. Though all they really seem to do is just kind of attack and torment them. But, I mean, there are obviously a few plot holes that you could talk about, or maybe things that don't make sense. Like, how did they get into their house? It is explained why they assumed their lives. It's because they wanted to be able to live out the idea of being able to be grandparents and have children of their own. Children that they used to have and can't have anymore and don't have because they murdered them and they were in a psychiatric ward. I don't know if I do wonder if they escaped, or maybe the counselors, the grandparents invited these people, or had them brought out to their home to maybe try and help counsel them or whatever, and things just didn't go right, and so they attacked them and killed them. I mean, who really knows? I mean, who can say? But, yeah, this was a really good movie. This gets a good recommendation from me. I would say, if you're at all interested in M. Night Shyamalan's The Visit, rent it for yourself and check it out. I mean, I'm glad that I watched this. I would watch it again. I would, show it to other people, and my camera battery's gonna die. Well, everybody, I hope that you've enjoyed. Please let me know what you think of M. Night Shyamalan's The Visit. I'm sure there may be some other people who disagree with me, or maybe who agree. Let me know what you think. Check me out on Twitter at JMRT709 for more updates or anything like that. I post videos just about every single day. And please hit the like and subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. I'll see you guys next time. Hope that you've enjoyed. M. Night Shyamalan's The Visit. Actually a really good movie. See ya.